What is up, YouTube? We are back again today. Beautiful day, Sunday. It's gonna be our dedicated shoulders and arms day, and here with my cousin.
What up?
Reese Hoffman. Absolute dog. Absolute dog. Gonna show him how it's done. He's lifted with me before, but it's been a minute, and gonna get after it, have a grand old time. You know, this is what I enjoy to do, and he's getting in there, getting after it. So, that being said, catch you in the gym.
Takes time. Acorn takes time to turn into an oak tree. So you can't expect to play an orchestra when you don't have that experience. So time brings wisdom, knowledge. You have to be willing to spend time alone to discover your purpose and to understand the process of becoming into who you are. You know, a lot of people have issues, can't communicate because one person is on a different time level than the other person. Talk about, you know, experience, talk about wisdom and knowledge. You can't expect someone to understand a human being that's 20 years older than 30 years older than I have an 11-year-old son. You know, he talks to me and he doesn't quite understand me because I have that experience of 30 years, 40 years, you know, on top of him that comes along with over a period of time. The acorn develops into a oak tree. Okay. So let's talk about discovering your purpose. And actually, let's talk about time alone. How important actually, you know, time alone is. Time alone makes you see, first of all, who God is. Second of all, it lets you see who you are. And the third thing, it lets you see what will fit you, what will fit in your life. You need time alone to discover these things. And some people fight being alone. They fight being alone. They fight being single. They don't enjoy it. They just invite anybody over. You invite people over, you don't even like, just come on over, girl, come on over. Let's just hang out because you're afraid of being alone and you're avoiding thinking. Time alone is important. Time alone gives you, first of all, God discovery. You begin to understand who God is. You cannot understand who God is in a crowd. And Jacob was left alone with God, and God called Abraham alone, and Moses went to the backside of the mountain and was alone. It's always when you're alone when God reveals himself. God didn't show himself to the Virgin Mary while she was in the crowd shopping with her girlfriends. When the angel showed up and said, Mary, you're going to have your favorite amongst women, you're going to have Jesus. She was by herself. Whenever anything significantly happens to you in a spiritual capacity, it happens when you are alone. Can God get me by himself? You know, or is your life so cluttered with people and things that you're chasing and objects that sometimes people put on you, or sometimes you put it on yourself because you're fighting from being alone. And now you got a crowd, and now you don't know who God is. Number two, you don't know who you are. Okay? In order to have self-discovery, you have to have reflection. Christians don't use this term too much, but I like this term, meditation. Not levitation, meditation. There's a difference. I used to always spend time by myself, visualizing, thinking, simple meditation, just a calm, quiet place of reflection on your life. People all the time, if you went through that relationship, why snatch somebody else up? Spend a little period to figure out what happened the first time. We know what happened to him so that you don't go into the repeating thing over and over and the same trouble in your life over and over again. Oh no, I can't be alone. You need to be alone. Not to figure out, you already know what was wrong with him, her. That's why you broke up. But have you figured out your contribution in the conflict? Because you did contribute something to the problem that you're in right now. And you need time alone to do that. And we do not take time alone to do that. In fact, we purposely go out and pick things to fill out gaps in your life. Until you don't have anything else to do except to busy. Gotta go, gotta work, gotta make that money, gotta continue, gotta train, gotta work hard. Never alone. And you don't know who God is. And you don't know who you are. And it makes you not a suitable helpmate for anyone else. Because if you can't make time for you, warning, you won't make time for anyone else or me. Got that? Time alone, again, will make you see, first of all, who God is. Second of all, who you are. And the third thing, it lets you see what will fit you. What's suitable for your life. Where is your sweet spot? What works for you? All right, guys, so that's my tip. And that's it. So stay focused. Don't be afraid to be by yourself and spend time alone.
high-intensity training principle will guarantee optimal progress. While it is true that each of us are unique as personalities, it is also true that we are physiologically alike, making our training requirements practically identical. Yes, there are those who will gain faster than others, owing to differences in existing levels of fitness in the age and in innate adaptability to exercise. The important point to remember here is that you will grow progressively larger and stronger muscles only when you train with increasing levels of intensity. This is universal and applies to all human beings.
It doesn't take a fucking scientist to fucking logically understand what I'm saying. The more you put in, the more you get out. So stop fucking making excuses. Get out there and do whatever the fuck it takes to reach your fucking goals.
Talented? I wasn't talented in bodybuilding. Any genetics? I didn't have any, I wasn't talented in business. But the thing is, I was telling David about this earlier, I had this attitude that I can do. There's nothing I can't do. If I can squat 400, 535 or how many, 23, whatever it was, I can do anything. I believed that, and it worked, because I believed it.
Intense training is purposeful behavior aimed at the goal of increasing muscular size and strength. In order to train as hard as possible, you must retain a clear image of your purpose. Once your goal is sharply but realistically defined, all that remains is carrying out your plan. Don't, however, worry about your individual potential. Potential is only the expression of a possibility, something that can be assessed accurately only in retrospect. In other words, you'll never know how good you might have become unless you try.
I had that gym, and that gym taught me a discipline. It taught me sacrifice, and it just taught me how to trust my decisions, And when I started trusting my decisions, I started seeing changes that I was in control of, not anyone else.
This sport is definitely challenging, and I've learned a lot. So have all these guys about yourself and what you're faced with in adversity and overcoming. I just didn't give up, and I continue to train.
I snapped my tendon, tore my chest. You know what they said? I'll never come back. I'll never be a bodybuilder. I'll never. This happened after I got second place in the first Miss Olympia. You know what happened? So I can tell people how I train. I can tell them what I eat and all these things. That's the boring part, Anybody can train and eat, but what's driving you to do what you do in life?
Like living in reality. Reality was forget about reality. I have to have a dream. I have to have a goal. I have to get up every morning and go after something. And I believe that bodybuilding and fitness makes your life better. Some of the young 20-year-olds, they say things to me like, isn't it really sad that you gain all that muscle in the 1980s only to lose it now? Muscle's temporary. It's a temporary thing. So is life. So is life itself. It's temporary. It's all temporary.
Slight little full stack.
fucking logically understand what I'm saying. The more you put in, the more you get out. So stop fucking making excuses. Get out there and do whatever the fuck it takes to reach your fucking goals.
Trying to keep the level head in the More fit the game of what somebody else takes you out of the frame. And put your name in shame, cover up your face. You can't run the race, the pace is too fast, it just won't last.
Yup.
You love the way I look at you. You take away if I give in my life. The things I say I do, the way I hurt myself again just to get back at you. You take away when I give in my life is broken. You're never wrong. You live what you love. You have to act like you're someone. You live what you love. You ask someone to act like you. You live what you love. You share what you've been proud. You live what you
path that I've walked has always been against the grain, I guess you could say. I wasn't about to mold myself into what everybody else thinks is socially acceptable or the norm. That's not really living. If you're not living in a way that you wake up every day and you're completely happy, how are you living? I believe in having no regrets. Just go hard and go home. That's been my way of life. If you're gonna do it, go all the way. If you're not, don't bother. Bodybuilding was all enough. It's do or die.
What would you rate the lift?
That shit was solid. I'll give it a 10.
10. Gonna take him on the full experience and roam around downtown. So, yeah, with that being said, just want to thank you guys for tagging along. I'm very thankful for all the support. We're continuing to grow each and every day, and more to come.